Has there ever been a time when you've experienced bullying before?
Absolutely, Alina. Bullying has been there, all the time when we were growing up now. But as you said, from my time when I was growing up, the word bullying may not have been in use. People possibly did not understand that, but there was bullying. In my opinion, bullying is when someone takes advantage of someone else in any form, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, but you are, downgrading, downplaying someone, insulting someone. That, in a very simple sense, is bullying to me. And yes, there was bullying always, and people did not even understand that it was bullying because of many, socio-cultural things that were different in that land at that time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think sometimes the loudest bullying isn't even at school anymore. Sometimes people don't realize when they're being bullies. There are, of course, bullies that are very obvious, but then certain bullies where you can't even tell that they're bullying.
So, I mean, it might be a good idea to start with a formal definition of bullying, which I actually got from the Anti-Bullying Alliance. And they say they have a research of 30 years from around the world. Just picked up three words that I think, defines bullying, in my opinion, in a very, proper way, which is it has to be repetitive, it has to be intentional hurting, and there is a relational imbalance between the person who is bullying and the person bullied. Because if it is not repetitive, if someone does something to you one time, it's not bullying. If it is not intentional, sometimes there's accidental behavior that hurts us, it's not bullying. So that's a formal definition. But as I said earlier, to me, if I am saying something, doing something, looking at someone which that person is not appreciating, then that to me is bullying in a very, very low level. But I think one of the things that that might give it more context, perspective, and more make it more real is that did we ourselves get bullied? So let me start with myself. When I think back so many years back, I do think I was bullied. And by saying that, it doesn't mean that I was the only kid who was bullied. Some people would come and say that. Most people would not say that. But now that I think, if people did misbehave with me on a consistent basis, yes, it happened once or twice without going into the details. And as I said, the culture was such that it was not a big deal. And even prior to our time, our fathers and my father's and grandfather's time, people did misbehave with each other on a consistent basis, but because their priority was like, putting food on the table, they did not have enough of everything. So the emotional aspect was very, very secondary.
Do you have an example of what happened?
Yes, I do have example, and one of it is very, very silly. I was thinking before, doing this recording today, that even when I was teaching, at one point I was a pretty strict teacher, so I wouldn't allow any plagiarism or anything, and I was very strict, and the people around me, the students, teachers, knew that. So one time after the exam, I came back to where I teach, and I saw that one of the students, a big guy, when I was walking out, was just coming face to face with me. This is a student. He's in size, he was bigger than me, but he's just coming face to face with me. So that is bullying. I'm a teacher and he's a student, and I had to walk out. So he didn't say as much, but it was like he was inviting me to get into an altercation with him. This is a small thing that comes to my mind. And that too, like when I was grown up, I'm not talking when I was at high school or grade school. But yeah, bullying has always been there. But as I said, in that culture, during that time, there's poverty, there was war, there instability, and this emotional consequences, or the fact that people might be emotionally hurt, was not even in their radar.
I definitely think I've also experienced bullying too growing up, and I think it's something that a lot of us can relate to, right? Just being in when you're in elementary school, there's always that need to kind of fit in. People sometimes want to, just make fun of you in terms of your culture, where you come from, right? Automatically, I'm brown, where I come from, this is what you guys eat, this is how you dress, and just growing up, you don't even realize how it impacts you in the moment, and not a lot of people, think about it. And again, there's kids that are bullying you, and we're all kids, right? So maybe it was unintentionally, but in that moment, you realize the impacts that it has on you. I think oftentimes people do bully you because they have that sense of insecurity, and then sometimes they want to make you feel smaller by putting them on a pedestal, right? And they think that bullying you will make them they're going to be more of like a bigger person than you. And it's really that insecurity. And sometimes they're portraying it on you when it's really something that they feel about themselves.
One of the points that really stands out is the imbalance of power. You will hardly ever see someone at the same level, whether it's ethnic level or religious or even gender or age group or financial status, will be bullying each other. Maybe rarely, but there is an imbalance of power and the bully takes advantage of that.
Yep.
That's one of the definition, one of the points in the definition of that anti-bullying alliance. And yes, I did want to talk about a few other things, which is, types of bullying. We know there can be at the very minimum, people understand it's going to be a push, it's going to be a shove, someone will just throw someone. That's in a sense not a big deal, but that is one form only. But like you were alluding to earlier, there's verbal bullying, there's social, emotional, and cyber. Of course, I think, as I was saying, there's like it's ethnicity thing, there's race thing, there's gender thing. You're talking about accent and all those kinds of things, But these are all there, but there are so many things that we can talk about. I was even thinking like there can be, even within family, there can be bullying between siblings.
100%.
It's not to say that my sibling or your sibling is bullying each other or us, but the fact remains that bullying is very pervasive.
Just out of interest, like, have you faced any discrimination for being an immigrant in this country as well?
See, I personally don't see it that way, but sometimes, also like, people in the minority are also a little bit sensitive, right?
Yeah.
If I am getting out of the checkout counter and the person is delaying a little bit, I would think, oh my God, he's doing this because I'm an immigrant. My face shows that I'm not I don't look like an American, stuff like that. There might be some truth in it, there might not be, right? So in that sense, I don't think so, but, I think just because it didn't happen to me doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to people. But we have to keep things in perspective that, we can also not be whiners.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a distinction that we have to make. There's a fine line between what could be considered as bullying and what might not be.
Oftentimes what I've also seen is sometimes people, they just want to make other people laugh, and they think that, bullying someone else, like, hey, like, all of a sudden they'll become this famous person that everyone looks up to because they know how to make everyone else laugh by making someone else feel small. I've seen that happen so many different times where people are making fun of others, and again, in the moment they don't realize the impact that it's having on the other person. And then you have your bystanders, right? The people that are just watching all of this bullying and not doing anything about it because they don't want to be the next victim. Like, you are saving yourself from being the next victim by just not speaking up. And I think there are so many scenarios where that in itself is also supporting a bully, and you're at that point becoming a bully yourself.
Yeah. Alina, one thing that comes to my mind is nowadays, as we were talking about, there's a lot of bullying going on in the cyberspace.
Yeah.
Right. If I may directly ask you, did you ever face anything online on the social media, any sort of cyberbullying?
Yeah, I absolutely have.
You yourself did?
Yes, I myself have. And this was actually coming from someone who felt very insecure about herself, just not going too much into detail, just lying about me online, putting a false claim out there. And then eventually all of my friends stepped in. They supported me in this, which, I definitely appreciate. And all of a sudden she started to say that she was being mentally harassed when she was starting something. And then eventually not, accepting that she was responsible for her own behavior. Cyberbullying is something that continues to happen to people, and it's so easy because you're a face behind a screen, so no one could really they're not standing up in front of you and bullying you. And for me, I think I reached out to this person and I was like, let's talk about it. You have so much to say about me. But she wasn't answering my calls. They were all being declined. I was blocked, and I was getting threats on it, but nothing from where she wanted to be face to face to tell me something, because it was so easy to hide herself behind a screen, where it's just words. But it's just so many things that happen and so many different scenarios and examples.
I hope you have recovered from it. But there are some which
I did.
But there are some which honestly are very, very serious. I do want to mention this, not any particular case, but I've read somewhere many years back, and I think still things are going on. And I think a lot of these happens, unfortunately, to girls. And most often, girls are doing this to girls, and they're body shaming, they're doing things. And this is very rampant all over the world. In some cases, the victim did commit suicide. You know why? Because if I am being bullied at school, when I come home, I have rest. I'm not being bullied. But cyberbullying is 24/7.
Yeah.
It is 24/7. You open your device and you see that person is saying, nasty things or threatening even in some cases. So some people cannot take it. I'm not saying everyone will take it, very, very, very desperate, will have a very desperate reaction, but it can hurt people very badly because there is a social family also. And when people are seeing that you are being embarrassed, a lot of people may not even stand up for you and people gang up.
Yeah, and looking back now, I'm so grateful. Like, I had people by my side, but not everyone does, right? Like, not everyone has that support. And sometimes you don't realize the impact that it has on people, right? Like, again, I was I was okay with being like strong in that moment. But what if I wasn't, right? Like, what if that impacted me in a more negative way? I think people sometimes fail to realize the impact that bullying can really have on you. And I think cyberbullying, like you mentioned, will be there forever, right? Someone could have a screenshot of that saved forever. And then, fortunately it didn't happen with me, but I know of stories where people have published or posted pictures of people that, that they don't want to be seen in the outside world.
Yeah.
And these are things you can't take back because once it's
Yeah.
out there, it's out there,
Yeah.
you can't take that back. And it continues to have that long-term effect on that person that you're bullying as well.
You know why I have a smile on my face? It's like a sarcastic smile, which is I don't like the word viral. You know why? Because a lot of nasty things become viral, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, people have such a short attention span,
That's true.
and they find anything interesting, whether it's hurting someone or not. Some of them are also good, also. So these things become viral very easily, and they're like, okay, that girl, that boy, that person must have done something. Why otherwise so many people are saying things against that person? So we have to be very careful about shaming people. And it, as I said, internet bullying or cyberbullying is 24/7, unfortunately.
What role do parents have in really monitoring their kids' devices? Like, if they realize that some of their behaviors aren't okay.
Nowadays, it's very difficult to have for parents to have a role because I don't know which family and at what age can they restrict a son or daughter their use of their cell phones. I don't know if they can do that's fine, because otherwise it's a jungle out there. You think everything is fine, but your son and daughter is being bullied in the next room. You don't know anything about it, or he or she herself is bullying someone. Why don't we talk about that? Some of us are also bullies or have been bullies, or someone is a bully, right? Not everyone is being bullied. There are some bullies out there, so we can talk about that. So back to your point about, can parents do? Yes, they can do theoretically, but I don't know how effective that can be, in the sense of you cannot say, okay, I'm stopping your phone. There has to be like a more adult type behavior from the parents, and trying to understand the kid's situation, and trying to explain to them the pros and cons of using social media too much. I'm not saying social media is bad. There's so many good things that come out of social media.
You mentioned this before too, that sometimes bullying can happen within your family too. Do you want to just expand on that a little bit? Like, can family members bully you?
I think, again, when a family member is bullying you, it could be for any small reason, any big reason. Of course, it's not necessarily always systematic. It could be, but my point is it exists everywhere. That was my point. Not so much as to give you an example, but that it exists in every sphere. But sometimes it's in a family, you're not going to talk about it, right? Because you're not going to expose your family. Even if someone is bullying you, who are you going to say this to, right?
Exactly.
So something like that. So another thing that comes with different kinds of bullying is also, like, you are working the corporate area. What about corporate bullying?
Oh yeah, there is definitely a lot of corporate bullying. When I was a financial representative, I think then, it's a very competitive sector, specifically you're trying to compete with clients and things like that. So I definitely think as a woman, we're definitely growing in this corporate industry. But sometimes there are bullying where people try to bring you down by just thinking that, you won't hit the goals, or you won't get this amount of clients at a certain point. But it's really nice to have them realize what they're saying is wrong. But again, right, it definitely happens in the corporate world, and it's because people have that competitive nature. Sometimes it's healthy and sometimes it's not. So definitely experienced that myself as well.
This kind of bullying is very pervasive everywhere, right? Whether it's corporate, whether it's family, whether it's with friends, whether it's like internet, cyberbullying. It is there. I'm not saying every person is bullying everyone else, but it is there. But the question is like, sometimes. Are there avenues to stand up against these things, right?
Yeah.
There will be. I cannot leave a job because someone is bullying me. I go to the next job, someone else will again bully me, so I will not work. So we have to find a middle ground, right?
Yeah.
To see that, how much is my tolerance level,
Yeah.
right? Can I handle it? My physical, mental health is important. That's how I would have seen always. Have I never had problems with my group and people? Yes, I did. But then once or twice, sometimes I did feel bad about it. I overcame. Maybe people did feel bad about my behavior, the way I spoke. So I did not see really very, very serious bullying, but I know it does exist. If you're not able to speak up, in my opinion, that's kind of bullying.
I actually think it's really important to talk about some methods to really stop bullying. And I think one is to really not normalize jokes, right? Like if people are laughing about someone, talking about their appearance, for example, like, oh my God, look at that girl, like the dress she's wearing is so ugly. And someone else is just there laughing, like, haha, like, yes, you're right.
Her new haircut.
Exactly. Or her new haircut, like, that does not go along with her. Like, what is she doing? What does she look like? If you're laughing, with that person, you're basically giving them that reward, right? It's that reward effect, right?
Yeah.
You're allowing that person
You're validating.
You're validating it, and you're allowing them to mentally hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
You're allowing them to hurt the person that's being bullied. It really comes from that, like, the feeling of being rewarded with something. When you're rewarded, you decide to do it more because you're like, wow, like, this feels good. People are enjoying this. They think I'm funny. Stopping that when you can, right? Like, if you're embarrassing someone or you're hurting someone, like, that's not humor, right? So
Absolutely.
just stop that. Like, don't do that. There are so many little things you can say, right? Like, hey, that wasn't cool. I think what you did right there, hurt that person. So just try to stop the bullying when you can. I think that's very, very important.
And can I touch upon one thing that you mentioned before, but it's connected to this latest section that you're talking about?
Yep.
You mentioned bystanders. If you are going to stop bullying, bystanders have a big role.
Yeah.
Who are bystanders? Who are actually neither here nor there. In a school, in a locker room area, one boy hits another boy. There are 2-3 other boys who saw the whole thing and they did nothing. They are the bystanders.
Yeah.
So you can be supporting the victim, or you can keep quiet, or you can actually be supporting the bully.
Yeah.
So you make the call. At school, in society, in the cyberspace, this bullying would not be as rampant as it is now, because people will not, at the end of the day, like you're saying, bullies need validation.
Yeah.
If they don't have support, they're going to stop bullying.
No.
Because it's a power game.
Right. And now, what if we turn this power thing around, right? And you think about it. What if you start to become a leader by setting examples, by stopping the bullying, right? And that in itself could be a whole other social empowerment that you can feel, like you're doing the right thing. You have other people that would support you. And all of a sudden, there's so many other ways to feel that social empowerment as well. And it shouldn't just be through bringing somebody down or commenting on someone or saying something negative or making fun of someone because of where they come from, because of their appearance, right? It's so easy to hurt someone. It's so easy to bully someone. But you want to set an example. You want to become that leader that stops all of this.
One of the things that we might want to talk about a little bit is, who are the bullies and why do they bully? We talked about a little bit that there's a power game going on here. Oftentimes, not every time, the bullies themselves were bullied, and it's kind of a revenge game now, right? So someone did this to me, so it's inside me, and I will take a revenge and I'll try to feel better. Then there's like temporary relief, which is like very sadistic in seeing someone hurt, right? But these are feelings that the bullies do get, and all the bullies are not criminal. We should not be doing that also.
Yeah.
They are not. If someone did something to you just once, that's not bullying, and
Right.
and maybe he or she will never do that again. But so we have to be careful in not labeling people. So bullies are not always like professional people who want to hurt people, because if we think that bullying mainly takes place at the high school, middle school arena, then there's a lot of things that can change because these are young mind. When it's happening at this say middle school level or even high school level, they're so much more impressionable, and there's so much it's so much possible that they can themselves do something very negative. Either they can hurt themselves, they can be sad, they can have depression and whatnot, and they might not always know the avenues that might be available for them. School, teachers, and
Yeah.
guidance counselors, what have you. In some sense, even the police, right? If it goes to that level, but the first support should come from bystanders. That's the point that I'm trying to make. That if it's possible, then bullying will go down a little bit.
Some friend groups also bond by bullying one another, teasing one another, in other words. Do you think that that's acceptable?
No, no, it is not at all acceptable. But I know, particularly young adults, belonging to a group is very important. And sometimes you will do things which you did not want to do yourself, but to belong to that group, you have to do something nasty, or at least keep quiet when someone else is doing something nasty.
Yeah.
So, for a young guy or girl, I cannot expect too much. But this is a learning for them, that they have to come out of this thing. And lot of coaching needs to be there.
Yeah.
People need to be talking about these things without blaming the individual. Blame the act.
I think it's very common, mainly in like high school, middle school, with a lot of boys especially. You'll see just boys just teasing one another because with what I actually think is that with guys, like, they're really taught to keep their feelings hidden, right?
Be a macho, right?
Exactly. Like, you need to portray yourself as being this strong man. Like, you can't be sensitive to things. You can't like get upset over little things like that. But at the end of the day, like, we're all human, right? Like,
Right.
whether it's men, whether it's women, you do realize, like, yes, for boys it's just funny, we're teasing one another, haha. But overall, like, it could still have an impact. You don't really know what they're hiding on the inside, and they can't even, who are they gonna go to with that, right?
Having passed through those ages many years back, I still remember, and I still think that I am not like an average, guy and whatnot, in the sense that, it is expected that a boy, a young man, an older person, they're not going to be sensitive, they're going to be tough, they're going to be physically tough, emotionally tough, nothing will, affect them. But I think that's a very wrong notion. Just as, girls are allowed to do everything, boys should be allowed to react in every way also. What if a boy is sensitive? How does it make him any less of a boy, right? He's still a guy, he still does what guys do, but he's also sensitive, he also gets hurt, and he also, feels for other people. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that, at least from my perspective. So boys should be given that lesson that be who you want to be. You don't have to be like everyone else. And like I said, there has to be a lot of trainings for young people to understand that there's not one way of leading a life. Just as a girl can be very aggressive and do things that usually boys do, there's nothing wrong with that. Similarly, why can a boy not be, in this case, be sensitive?
Yeah.
Boys don't accept themselves when another boy is sensitive. Oh, too sissy, and this is the target for our bullying, right? So I think that's a very wrong thing, and there are a lot of things that the school and the parents and society can do to teach boys that it's okay. I mean, boys, girls, everyone. It's
Yeah, of
okay to be
course.
sensitive.
Yeah.
You should be strong. You should be able to take care of yourself
Right.
when you grow up. But that doesn't mean that you have to have feelings. If someone has more, that's good. If someone has less, that's good too. Let them be who they are.
As you're older, like, you're expected to be the man, like, whether it's in like relationships, things like that, you shouldn't be sensitive. Even though like people, tend to say like it can start from a younger age, you don't want to hide away the feelings, because sometimes when you're being more expressive, you can understand what that other person in your life will be feeling, right? Whether it's your significant other, your parents, like anyone in your life, really. You need to understand that it's okay to feel, right? Sometimes people just take it because they're like, hey, I'm okay, I'm strong, I'm a boy, I can take it. And it happens with some females too, right? Like, we want to show that we're strong, that we're not feeling something, but it's okay to feel. And it's okay to let someone know what you're feeling as well.
Lina, I think we are talking for quite a bit of time now. Maybe we can just briefly finish this up by saying what you think are the consequences of bullying.
If something damages a person, and again, it could take a few months, it could take a few days, it could take even like one day, the damage that you're doing to a person, eventually they may no longer want to live. And it's very common. Like people will get bullied, and they just think that it's better for them to go, which again, very, very sensitive to speak on, but it could happen. There's also other consequences. You eventually lose that confidence in yourself. And as you're getting older, right? Like,
Self-esteem.
yeah, of course, your self-esteem, you're really ruining that for you're really ruining that for someone else. They're all of a sudden very insecure about the smallest things, and you don't realize what that's doing to someone and how it's affecting them.
Alina, physical injuries are visible.
Yes.
Emotional, mental injuries are not visible,
No.
but it's hurting you as much, if not more, right? The extreme case being someone taking their own life. Not everyone takes their life.
Right.
But someone's life can just be destroyed.
Of course.
The person might have so much of, anxiety and depression and whatever as a consequence of these things. If you have naturally susceptible to that, that's a medical question.
Yeah.
We are not experts. But if bullying caused this, that's so wrong at so many levels.
Yeah. I agree. You never really know what someone is
Yeah.
carrying. That damage.
Just for your fun.
Yeah, exactly. But the damage that you're doing to someone, it can last for years. And then even a few words that you can say can help somebody for the rest of their life. You never really know what someone is carrying, I think a few words can really damage someone's life for years, and then a few words can also help someone's life for a few years. So you want to be the latter. You want to be the person that will stop the bullying and help someone live that positive life. And that should really be our goal.
It's a very interesting, very sensitive topic, and we might not have done justice to it. We just spoke from the top of our mind and
Yeah.
heart, from our experience,
Right.
from what we think, because we are, as we said in the last, the last video, we are coming from different generations, different everything. But I think we agree that this is a serious thing. This needs professional help in many cases.
Yes.
And we are just telling you that please be aware, and particularly for the bystanders, I would say again, there is a role for the bystanders.
Right. Exactly. Be aware of what you're doing. Be aware of your surroundings, not just for yourself, for others as well, and stand up when it's right.
Everyone is not a bully. Everyone is not a bad person.
No.
There are a lot of good people around, but
course.
let's speak up and let's do something.
Exactly. All
Thank
right.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.